Indiana Jones has been completely desecrated over the past couple of years, and we have gotten some major failures like the Dial of Destiny. But the upcoming game, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, has already been a controversial one because they did talk previously about how this was being made for modern audiences, and now the producer is saying the new companion Gina is serving as an intellectual equal to Indy. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, there were probably 100 better ways that they could word this, but instead, they decided to say an intellectual equal, which is extremely questionable here, given the fact that we are talking about two characters from two very different worlds. And yeah, she might have a strong survival instinct, but at the end of the day, she's just a journalist, so she could never really be Indy's equal. This is a Bounding into Comics article. It says, in a tease of the upcoming game that's sure to raise more than a few hackles, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle producer Craig Derrick has revealed that the game's narrative will present Indy's new companion Gina as the archaeologist's intellectual equal. It says the overall Lucasfilm executive producer, whose credits in addition to The Great Circle also include The Mandalorian, Ahsoka, and Acolyte, yeah, great lineup there, offered this insight into the soon-to-be Lombardi during a general production interview given his employer's official website. Now, this game has already raised more than a few red flags just because, while I love Bethesda, do not get me wrong, their games never launch in a particularly amazing state, and yeah, a lot of their titles do look outdated. Now, granted, most of them end up getting modded very quickly, and mods can enhance experiences. Like, I love Skyrim, for example. I think it's amazing. It's a 9 with mods, but like a 7 without them, maybe a 7.5. The story's still really good, the characters are really good, the world is very rich, but let's keep it a buck, mods make it a significantly better experience. The same goes for some of their other titles like Starfield, for example, but when we initially saw this gameplay, people were pointing out it did look quite rough around the edges. A lot of the facial animations just looked really tired. Of course, the music is iconic, and another controversial element is the fact that it's first person. A lot of people don't like that, myself included, but one of the major issues was the humor, we will call it, in this trailer, which really came across as cringeworthy simply because you have Gina here who is constantly one-upping Indy. She's saving Indy. She's talking about, well, if only you were as smart as me. I mean, she truly seemed like a girl boss. And yes, this game is not out yet. Maybe it will be fantastic. And they were just highlighting a couple of instances of girl boss dialogue in the teasers and trailers that does not translate the same when you see the actual full context of the scenes and you see how these two characters interact. But when we've seen that, in combination with the developers admitting that this is a game for modern audiences, it just does not paint a very positive picture. But now we're also finding out that she is apparently an intellectual equal to Indy. So as his brief interview drew to a close, Derrick finally turned to the topic of the aforementioned Gina and her role in Jones's upcoming adventure. She is the perfect ally for Indy, explained the producer. She's endlessly curious, incredibly sharp, and has a personal stake in the journey. She's not only challenging and assisting the player, but also serves as an intellectual equal to Indy, bringing depth to the adventure. Gina adds a personal dimension to the story, making the journey about more than just finding another artifact for a museum. I believe players are really going to connect with her and root for her story, which just goes to show that this producer has absolutely no clue what Indiana Jones is about. It's not just, oh, hey, I'm gonna go find this artifact. A lot of the time, it's like, massive stakes that are on the line. And sometimes, yes, it does end up being extremely personal for Indy. I personally am so sick and tired of these people acting like, oh, he's just a guy who wants to put a few relics on his shelves. That is not the case. His adventures are driven by passion, curiosity, responsibility. I mean, he wants to uncover and preserve historical artifacts for the benefit of humanity. He's trying to keep items like the Ark of the Covenant away from the Nazis who are trying to dominate the world. Same goes for the Holy Grail. Look at the Crystal Skull. He's trying to keep that away from the Soviets because they'd be able to unlock powers and control the world. Like, holy heck, what is wrong with these people? And why do they constantly think he just wants to steal an item and it only leads back to, like, money? I just don't get why they do this time and time again. The same thing happened with the Dial of Destiny. They were like, oh, he's just old at this point. And even though there is some, time travel, they were just constantly talking about how, well, that's why he needed. Oh my God, I can't believe we have to talk about her again. Phoebe Waller-Bridge's character, Helena, by his side because she makes it personal, because she is a different type of explorer than him. She's just a different type of person, and it balances him out really well. He doesn't need one of these cringy girl bosses to balance him out. He's Indiana freaking Jones. And at this point in the story, it's not like he is a no one and they really are on the same level. The game takes place in 1937, which means it's between the events of Raiders of the Lost Ark and The Last Crusade. So he's like 35 to 38 years old, and he's very experienced when it comes to expeditions, where she is just an investigative journalist. And sure, she might think quickly on her feet, but she's never been in a situation like this. Therefore, in this situation, she's really not his intellectual equal. She would have no clue what she's doing. Yeah, she might be able to come up with, snappy responses, but at the same time, he's just significantly more skilled than her. And it's fine to have a female within a story like this who happens to be able to do some of the things that he can do, like Marion, for example. She has always been a very important part of Indy. But I just don't see this investigative journalist sitting here being able to do all of the things that he can. And it's shocking that this is happening in this new game. Absolutely not. I mean, we have already heard that this is a modern audience game. This is another Bounding in a Comics article, in essentially torpedoing any hope that the game might have focused on delivering an adventure fit for the fedora-wearing hero. The senior narrative designer behind the upcoming Great Circle title has confirmed that the hero's long-awaited return to the realm of video games is being explicitly developed for a modern gaming audience. And if you go back like a decade, this was not a bad phrase, a modern gaming experience, right? Because you thought of really state-of-the-art graphics in gameplay, amazing soundtracks, titles that looked better than life. We always meme and joke about water looking better in video games than it does in real life. That is what modern gaming used to mean. Now, when you hear modern gaming experiences or modern gaming audiences, it just is sensitive snowflakes on social media. The modern gaming audience really doesn't exist. When you try to make a game specifically for these people, you end up losing boatloads of money because there's maybe 2,000 people who can fit into the modern audience category. And we've seen that these people just don't buy video games. I mean, it's awful to see this happen time and time again. I want video games to release and be amazing. I love video games, like so many people, but as soon as you hear this, you have to expect the worst. And 95% of the time, When a project is described this way, it does end up being a flop. It does end up being a clusterfuck. And I want Indiana Jones and the Great Circle to come out and be amazing. It's a star-studded voice cast like Troy Baker. I want, Bethesda to do something really good here. I mean, technically, it's all just Xbox now because Machine Games was bought by Bethesda. Bethesda was bought by Microsoft, so it's all technically Xbox. I want them to make an amazing title here. I want Todd Howard to prove yet again why he's a god in the gaming industry, but on the flip side, I just have to keep my expectations low so that I don't end up disappointed. And that's what I recommend all of you do. Keep your expectations low. Maybe when this comes out, it will be fantastic. It'll be a really fun, lighthearted Indiana Jones experience. But from everything we've heard so far, there's a lot of red flags being raised, and I'm just not extremely hyped for this title at this point. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, give it a like, and if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.